exactly the way that it is. Perhaps noticing that the mind's got a weight of its own, already carrying you down the stream. And perhaps that mind is creating a certain tension in your head where you're actively activating the muscles around your forehead because you're engaged with the thoughts. See if you can just relax that area and let that go too. Doesn't mean that the thoughts will stop, doesn't mean that anything has to change, you're just surrendering, relaxing, and opening up to the possibility that this is enough. That this moment that's already here is exactly how it's supposed to be. It's this space where we can find out how we're making ourselves unhappy. What story are we buying into that is telling us that we need to be more, that we need to feel different? The if onlys or what ifs. It's the accepting of the what is and relaxing that allows this moment to be peaceful. Not the moment presenting itself in a perfect form for us to feel peace, but us to feel peace with the moment in whatever way it presents itself. Meditation is exactly that. It's detaching from any effort for anything to be any different, and allowing what is to permeate us completely. It's not a battle, it's not a fight. It's relaxation and effortlessness. That's why we're here. So whatever it is that you're carrying around with you, put it down. We'll do that using 3 breaths. We'll take a big inhale through the nose and let it go through the mouth. Just drop it. Whatever it is, drop it. 2 more. Inhale and let it go. Last one, big breath in and release. Namaste.
Namaste.
Welcome. Namaste means to bow. And you can also hear namaskar. Okay, namaskar is the same thing, but there's a difference. We would say namaskar in the situation where we say it to a room of people that are not practicing consciousness. And it means hello. Same thing, but namaste means I see the thing that's in you that is also in me. So you're bowing past your ego to the thing that is what we're really pointing at in meditation. So Papaji always used to say namaskar, because everyone that turned up in his room was full of ego and mind and stuff, so he just didn't even bother. Namaskar. There's a different meaning, so it's fun. It's good to play with and understand these things, but you're essentially offering yourself and the whole of your attention to the people that you're sharing the space with. It's a good way to meet and greet people. It's like, I'm just going to get out of the way now and I'm going to really be here for you. Because most of the time it's difficult to be there for someone if you're looking at them through your stuff. And our mind is constantly projecting that stuff. It's like an exhausting battle that just drains us all the time. And it's about creating a relationship of separation between that perpetual flow and what is still. Because there's a constant stillness and there's a constant flow. but the stillness is always there. The stillness is there when the mind is going, watching the mind, sometimes falling into the mind and identifying with it, and then the mind stops and we get a moment of peace and we go, ah, God, it feels so good. My mind's just shut up, and then it carries on again. But the peace doesn't stop or start. It's laser beam all the time. It's our relationship with the peace that changes. When we notice the peace, we go, ah. When we hear the thought, we go, oh my God. You know, and we constantly fall in and out of it as if it feels as though it's changing. It's just our relationship with our thoughts, emotion, body, and experience. It's the constant. And the constant's the best bit. And that's all we're here for. That's all we want to do, is to figure out how to be peaceful at any given circumstance. And it comes down to being ultimately truthful with ourselves. Really truthful. And that means to actually be brave enough to tell the truth in any given situation to yourself. You don't have to tell it to anyone else. Talking to other people can be difficult, you know, we have guards up and other people can put our guards up, you know. But to ourselves, it's really important that we tell the truth. It's like when I sit in a class of people and I say, what do you want? And everyone's been practicing with me for a while and they say, enlightenment. And you say, yeah, of course you do. You know, is that the truth? You know, how many things have you wanted today? How many things have you wanted to be different? How many times did you lose your peace because you told yourself, if only I could, or if only I had more energy, or if only my circumstance was different? We do it daily, and then we sit down and we go, yeah, I want enlightenment. Bullshit. It's not the truth. So, radical honesty, because what the path of inquiry leading down the road of what do I really want will do is it will start to free you from the things that are creating your suffering. Because if you want things in your life, there's nothing wrong with that. But if them things are supposedly going to fill a void that feels empty at the moment and give you something, there's a big problem with that. You know? When I read this passage out of the book in a moment, we're going to talk a bit about karma. And in lots of my traditions that I study, or I've studied up until this point, have said that your karma is mostly pre-proposed. So you've already planted millions of seeds of karma, desires. Okay, so when we say karma, just to be absolutely transparent, the word karma means wheel. And that needs to be absolutely clear that it means a wheel, and that wheel has no movement, and it's a desire wheel. And when you push the wheel starts to spin, and it comes back around. And you push it, and it comes back around. And we engage with action, okay, to push the wheel. So karma has two ways of being spelled. One is without an R, and one is with an R. And karma is the desire on its own, without the R, and when you push it, or when you start acting out your desires as if they're going to complete you, then you're integrating and actually pushing more karma into the universe. And every time we say, I'm going to work towards that, it's going to create my happiness, we're engaging with something that is creating karma. Okay? But we already have loads of karma. Loads of it, because we already know what we want. And what they would say is, this has been going on for a long, long time. And being radically honest with yourself will enable you to go, okay, these things are in play in my life at the moment. For some reason, my body, my mind, my soul seems to want these things. And I keep acting out every day trying to accumulate these things. And I don't know why. We all do it, right? To some degree. Okay, even if it's just little things, we do it. If we're really, really honest, and that's why honesty and sincerity is super important towards at least ourselves, okay? Because any act of dishonesty or not truthful nature is completely fulfilling an ego, okay? So if you go out in your life and you do things and you put on a mask and you act a certain way and you're not completely honest with yourself, every time that thing creates fruit or validation, the validation or the fruit that it's creating is coming from an untruthful act which in turn will feed the karmic wheel of untruthful acts. So it might work, you know. Let's give an example to be transparent. If someone goes out and they do a job in the world and they earn a good bit of money in a dishonest way, you know, whether it be I'm going to charge 20% more than I need to, they're still doing their job, and there's still, most of the people are doing that in our community. And then that works, and then that fills their ego in a way, I can earn a lot of money doing this, and then the next one they might push it to 21, 22, and they keep feeding the ego as if that fuel is going to fill them up and they're going to find happiness at the end, and eventually they're consumed by money. They're consumed by just wanting to have more and more and more until they have everything, and they're just lost in this complete tunnel vision of consuming to achieve, but never finding lasting happiness. That's what our world looks like most of the time. It's a pretty shabby place, you know. And when we're radically honest about what we want, we can start to figure out what it's going to give to us. And then we can start to figure out the enlightenment principle in it. Because what we can do is always ask the question, if I attain that, what will it give me that I haven't got already? And if it's money, it might be a house. If it's a house, it might be security. If it's security, it might be a family. If it's a family, it might be peace. You know, you've got to chase it down the end of the rabbit hole until it's completely transparent to you. Because it always leads to peace. Okay, I'm gonna just hyper pass the whole conversation of needing you to go through it, but it leads to peace. But if you haven't worked that out truthfully for yourself by answering that set of questions, just saying peace isn't enough. You need to believe it. And then you can ask yourself, is it possible that if I didn't have that desire, that I could be peaceful in this moment? Because it always turns out that these things that are telling you, if only, are stopping you from feeling okay in this moment. They're creating suffering. And that's how karma works. Okay, so we don't want to be planting them seeds. We want to be finding out what it is that they're going to give us and asking ourselves, if I didn't think that I needed that right now, how would I feel? And then you tend to feel peaceful, you tend to feel okay. And then guess what? When you're feeling okay and peaceful, that karmic desire fulfills itself, naturally. All of a sudden you're walking in the world feeling peaceful, that thing that you thought was going to bring happiness arrives in its own beautiful form, turns up in your life, and just as quickly as it turns up, you recognise, I'm already peaceful, this is wonderful, and then it's gone. And then the next thing. And all the karma plays out daily, weekly, yearly, life. But the beautiful thing of the practice like this is when you stop engaging with more desires and happiness in a future place and stop perpetrating the next moment, you get to live your life here, not in your head. Because the minute you grab the desire, the head's going, how can I get it? What can I do? If I get it, blah, 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 me. It's exhausting. Let it go. Makes sense? Yeah, so that's how desire works. That is exactly what we're talking about when we talk about karma. What you've engaged with in life, what are you telling yourself that would make you happier or more peaceful than you are today, and follow it down the rabbit hole. This is an exercise you can do on your own, and it requires ultimate sincerity and truthfulness. Yeah, do it.
I suppose then if you mean that you really truthfully work out what you want, and if that is peace, then things that happen don't get in the way of that. You know that what you want is peace, and nothing's gonna draw you away from that. Or try. It's like the same with freedom. You're not gonna let anything get in the way of
that's the
feeling
mantra,
peace
isn't it?
or freedom.
So that's it in its ultimate form. So once you've travelled down your mind maze in every different angle, and you've recognised, okay, if that was completed, I would feel happy and peaceful. If that was completed, I'd feel happy and peaceful. You start to really ground yourself in, I want to feel peaceful. That is the most important thing in my life, is to feel peaceful and free. There is nothing else that I want to feel but to feel peaceful and free. And then when something happens, a circumstance like someone dies, or something bad happens in your life, you know what your most important factor is in life. Yeah, that's what you're saying. And then you'll say at that point, am I willing to give up my freedom for this? You know, because it will come in so quickly and the circumstance will happen and the mind will engage and then it will start telling stories about the circumstance, about how it doesn't like it, and you catch it and you go, I'm not willing to give up my freedom for this. And you stop engaging with that karmic cycle. You just don't touch it. You've already pushed the wheel because it's spinning in your head. Just don't touch it. Just let it burn out. It will stop. And you just come back to being peaceful. Peace is literally infinitely available in every moment. Infinitely available in every moment. You know? There was a version of me that would lose something and I'd spend the next however long looking for it, getting stressed out and agitated and really annoyed and where is it, blah, 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 blah. And then I perhaps would or wouldn't find it and that would determine my next form of happiness, and this is how I would live. I was a really agitated, stressed out person. Now if I lose something, I'm like, if it's meant to turn up, it will turn up. If it doesn't, I wasn't meant to have it. And it just frees you of so much psychological warfare. Okay, I actually feel like it's the foundation for a beautiful life. Okay, it's to just surrender yourself, and then see what happens. Because life is going to keep inviting you in. Okay, and when we think of these terms as like surrender and karma and things that we're planting, our mind starts to get overwhelmed just at the thought of it. It starts to freak out. Oh, am I doing this wrong? That's not the point here. The point is to relax. You're going to wake up in the morning. You're going to brush your teeth in the morning. You're going to go to work in the morning. You're going to do your Dharma, your life's duties tomorrow. But you can do it in such a way where you let the duties do you. And then it's a play. Then it's just, oh, I bumped into that person today. Oh, that thing at work was really obscure today. It doesn't have to be good. There's a saying from Ram Dass that says, how to keep your heart open in hell. And I think this has been my teaching of the week, okay? And this is tough. It's a tough cookie to crack, really, if we're honest. Because we walk through life and we see things going on in life that are tough. We see suicide, we see people with depression, we see anxiety, we see pain. And there's a tendency in this treacherous world to want to fix it, to want to fix myself, to want to run away when someone says that there's a suicide, because you're like, how on earth can this be the world that I live in? It's so offensive to us and so scary, should I say, that these things are going on in the background of life, that we shelter ourselves from them, or we hear enough and then we either go about trying to fix everyone or everything in every circumstance, or we close ourselves down to the point where we feel like if I just disconnect from all of that and I stay inside of my bubble, then I'll be okay. And these are really, really condescending behaviours of a human to ourselves, because life actually involves all of that. It involves doom and gloom and joy and sadness and pain and sorrow. And you want to, through all of it, keep your heart open. Accept it. It's part of the world. We can't fix that. That is just what goes on in the world. But there is a freedom to be found in allowing it. There's this superpower to come to you where you go, I don't need to fix the world, but I can partake in it. I can watch this crazy Leela unfold. And the reason they call it a Leela is because in the Advaita Vedanta philosophy, they say it's a drama. It's a drama, it's a play, it's a dance, you know. When you go to the theatre and you watch something, it's the sad moments and the painful moments that really get your heart going, oh my God. And then you get the relief at the end or something and you're like, that was amazing, right? It's like so much relief because the dance is so beautiful. It can't be a monotone of happiness. And that is when something bad is going on in the world and we feel a sadness about it and we close our heart and we defend ourselves and we go, what am I going to do to fix this? We're rejecting the truth of life. They're the beautiful bits. There are richness in us which gives us the deepest experience known to the universe. And it's great.
It's true.
So you have to keep your heart open, and the way that you do that is by not allowing yourself to tell yourself that you need it to be different. And then the superpower arrives. Then all of a sudden depression comes in one day, or someone's mentioning depression and they're touching on your stuff that you used to touch on in your mind, and your mind starts to go, oh my God, I'm feeling depressed, and you start freaking out and you go, okay, welcome. Oh, come in. And you look at it. And you just rest. And you don't reject it. You let the energy move into you. And you just observe it. And in the observing and relaxing, it goes back into peace. And then there's freedom. And it's this really, really slight trick. Does that make sense to some degree? Can we wrap has any questions on that? Like, it's hopefully kind of clear. It doesn't have to be crystal clear for a start, but we can recognise where we're perhaps tripping ourselves up a little bit.
I think it's partly when we try and take on other people's problems as well, and it's not part of our, it's not part of our journey to take on their problems. That's their journey to deal with, because that's what they've got to experience through life.
Of course.
And you can't change things for everybody, and accepting that, I think, is key.
That's a very good point. And the way that you change things for other people is to become a representation of what it is in you that you want to show them. Yeah. Because I've seen wonderful lectures on things like light workers, and there was a wonderful talk with Gangaji where a light worker was there saying, I just want there to be happiness in the world, and I really wish the whole world was happy, and I've been doing this for 5 years and I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out. And she made it quite clear that when you try to do that, you actually become the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. You become a heaviness in the world because you're now unhappy with the world, you're now trying to fix everything, and then you're making the world a more difficult place because you're not operating in the thing that you're trying to project, which is light. Yeah. So the only real influence that we have individually on the world is how we present ourselves in the world by how we engage with it. And that doesn't mean someone comes into the classroom tonight and I say, oh, hi everyone, I'm Kane, I'm very blessed all the time, I do yoga and I always feel amazing, it's so good to see you. That doesn't work. I know many people like that, and my ego fucking hates them because I can just see that it's exhausting. Authenticity is to just be radically honest. And then we connect on a level beyond the mind. And then we connect on a level which is real. And that can be miserable, that can be painful, that can be me swearing, it can be me being more abrupt than perhaps normal, but there's a permeation of truth in that, and the authenticity wins every time. Because it connects us to something inside of ourselves where we feel, we don't think, we feel alive and heard and seen and validated. And it's so important, because how many times do we shut that down in ourselves to please someone else? And that's not to say in every given moment I do that. I still put a mask on every now and then. Someone will still say something highly offensive to me and I'll just back off. And I'm wearing this false thing going, oh, that's fine that you said that. And inside I'm like, that actually really hurt that you said that. And it'd probably be more beneficial to tell the truth. But I'm aware that that goes on. And I want you all to be aware that it goes on and it's exhausting.
It's a life's work.
Yeah, it's a life's work, you're quite right. And it's fun. It's fun. It becomes something where we've seen ourselves struggling for so long because of a certain sort of circumstances that we put ourselves in. And it will feel like a pendulum for the majority of your life. It will feel like, I had peace and now I'm depressed. And then I had peace and now I'm depressed. And what that is clinging on to the old. Okay, say you achieve peace today, and then next week there's depression, and you say to yourself, I was peaceful, I need to get back to where I was, I need to go back there. What was I doing when that was going on? I was eating better, and I was taking my vitamins, and shit, oh, that was was the best version of me and now I'm fucked, you know. We exhaust ourselves trying to go backwards when we don't recognise that all we've got to do is stop. Stop telling that story. And today I'm miserable. So meditation in its rawest form is becoming objective with what is. And that means you don't go and sit on your meditation mat every day and commit to yourself that I'm going to sit down and my mind's going to go quiet. It's just not going to work. Okay? Meditation is about sitting down, closing your eyes, and watching from a perspective of separateness. Okay? And it's the truth. The only difference between the Leela that's happening to you and the one that you watch on telly every night is your ability to not feel it's personal. You watch a sad film and it's a joy, right? You watch a sad film, we cry and it's over and we turn it off and it's done. You know? That's happening to us in our life. We watch it and we get sad and we replay it and then we go over it and then we try and fix it and we manipulate it and we stay in it for far too long. Far too long.
Yeah.
But
it's
that's
like an echo.
It's just, it echoes and it reverberates because we haven't let it all the way in.
Yeah.
Because something inside of us had that energy come in, that sadness come in, and we said, oh, I don't really like this is too much, because we're identified with the pain, and we stop it. And then we push it down and it becomes dormant in our body, and then we wake up the next day and we're peaceful for like 2 minutes, and then the dormant energy comes up and we're reminded of it again, and we go, oh, I'm still sad, I can't do it, and then we just go and do something else to get rid of it, and then we go to the gym to get rid of it, and then we come to a meditation class to get rid of it, and we're just running away from it, you know, we're just exhausting ourselves, legging it from these scary things. We need to turn and face it. We need to sit down. Come in. Come in. Okay, so last week, you wasn't here, was you, Jess? Last week we was meditating on the feeling of I. Okay, because we're investigating that pretty much every thought will be revolved around I. Okay, most, if not all, of our thoughts will start with something along the lines of I need, I can't, I need. It's always an I. Okay, for me, most of them are an I. Okay, so what we want to do is find a place in which the I arrives. So what that would be like is there's silence, and then a thought may arrive, and we invite the thought by saying something like, who am I? And we watch that thought arrives out of a space. And then that thought can fall back into the space. And it is just as audible as this. If there's silence in the room, that's consciousness. From the space of silence, who am I? Back into silence. That's what you're doing inside your head. Yeah, makes sense? That's it. Okay? And then what you're going to do is make a relationship with the feeling of the space of consciousness, which feels like it resides here for most people when they become familiar with it, because this is the center of our being. We make a relationship with that space, and you relax as the feeling of consciousness. So you're not localized up here anymore, you're an open space of awareness, meditating, and a thought might come from that space up out of the head and say, blah, 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 blah. Don't touch it, and then rest is the space. And the next one, and rest is the space. And you're constantly resting. It's not an effort, it's not a trying, it's not a doing, it's a relaxing as the space. Okay, that makes sense so far? Good.
Yeah.
So that's the art. Okay, what will happen for a start while we're training ourselves to rest as this space is a thought will come in and we will get lost in it. We will come out of that space, this open, expansive space, and it will feel like we come into a localized sense of I, which is Cain, B, Jess, Theo. We'll come into the localized, and then we'll be watching it, and we'll be completely involved in it. It might be scary, it might be happy, and and then there'll be a point where you go, I'm thinking, and you go, relax, and you just stop it. that's what we're going to do for the first 5 minutes, okay? Relax. There was enough information in all of that stuff to give your mind something good to think about if you are thinking, so take it on. Take a few moments just to fiddle and fidget if you need to. If at any point your body becomes too uncomfortable, you just change your position. If it is too much stress, you can always lay down. That's completely acceptable as well. And then just start to relax your shoulders, relax your face. Make sure that you're not making any more effort than you need to. And what that means is let the body breathe. Let the mind think. Let the tension or no tension be. And just relax. Not touching anything. just share our experience. Let's just do it. You can start.
Well, a lot can go on in a few minutes.
Yeah? Are you busy?
I enjoyed in the beginning the word spaciousness and like sensation, so I felt like resting in the space, sensation. I could feel like my toes, awareness going around my body. And then the question, who am I? Which was a good start. And then I could gently feel the echoes of my past. And then I'd kind of sway a little bit into the future. And then I'd be like, no, here and now. And I'd kind of, that was my kind of journey really, is a little bit of past, a little bit of future, and then now. Feeling a bit of discomfort and then trying to come back to the question, what do I want?
That's a lot.
Yeah. But then I think I relaxed when I come to the answer of peace. And yeah, full journey back to who am I?
Let that be the echo. The other stuff can be the movement.
Yeah.
That returning, because we're looking for. It's really loud. There's probably a rat in there. We're looking for something to make sense about that question, something to reveal itself in the answer. So it's good. Just what will happen is you'll while it's around, and come back, and then while it's around, and then come back. That is the practice. Yeah. How did you get on?
It's just resting in a place of peace. And sitting as I am. And it's easy.
Yes.
And there are occasional sounds like the traffic, but it's not even engaging with it. It's hearing it and not even processing what you're hearing. It's just hearing it.
Just the raw experience.
Yeah.
Uninterpreted.
Yeah. And the feeling that I've still got my hands on my knees because there's a feeling of being all joined.
Yeah.
I don't want to break the contact.
Get the pulsations.
It's just, it feels really connected in this whole. Weird.
No, it's good. It's very, very good. You should feel when alive, especially when the nadis are open. Everything will be beaming. So it's nice. It sounds like you were bob on. How are you, Jess? How did you get on?
That was very nice. I was enjoying the space, and as soon as I closed my eyes, I kept saying to myself, that's where it is. That's where it is. And I could see my mind going into different places, but it was really nice to just be able to just drift and allow it to kind of allow the thoughts to almost melt away into the space.
Yes.
One thing I did forget is, up until the last 2 minutes or so, is who am I? And when I asked that question, I came back to the same feeling of space. Yeah, that's really nice.
That's so perfect. That's exactly the answer. The answer isn't a description. It's nothing. The answer's nothing, and the nothing encompasses everything. When people say, "Oh, I became one with the universe," it's because your individual identity is gone, and there's just consciousness. And what the actual feeling or sensation is like in that consciousness, because we're so conditioned to identify with something, there's a very gentle feeling of something trying to be grabbed. It feels like there's nothing, and it's like you can almost feel like your awareness is bouncing around a little bit, trying just to. There's nothing. Oh, there's a foot. Oh, nothing. You just keep doing it, and there's just a load of nothings. And that is the biggest discovery you can ever make, is that you are the nothing in which everything exists. And whenever you're looking at someone else who is narrowed down to a form or four, and they're projecting their stuff on you, you can look straight through that and recognise there is nothing and nothing, which is holding the space for all of this stuff that's going on. It's just liberation in a nutshell, and it is so much easier than we would dare to believe. It can't be that easy, can it? Not when I've spent my whole life and been conditioned to really have to work for a result. It's almost so easy that it just gets overlooked in every book, in every text, in every practice. And Ramana Krishna, who is the person where my lineage is back to, he was the first one to say, no, just ask who am I. He says all of the other stuff is going to lead to that question. Why not start with a question? Pranayama's practice to condition the mind. Pranayama is breathwork, practice to condition the mind. He really disliked a physical yoga practice because most people, when they're doing a yoga practice, become engulfed with their body and how their body looks and how their body works and whether they can do the posture or whether, and body identification is terribly painful in this world because we have a society that is cultivated around telling you how you should look, and that you've been sold that ever since you've been a kid, ever since we existed on this planet, and different generations have sold different body shapes and forms and different things to appeal to our lower nature. And when you do a physical yoga practice, it's a prayer. It's a prayer, it's a ripening of the space to make you feel okay to be able to sit, and then you would do pranayama, and then after your mind is not so sporadic, then you can ask the question, who am I? But he said, no. Sincerely ask the question. And those that are ready to receive the answer will be received in just a moment. And then any time you get lost in your day, the next time tomorrow when you're lost in your thought, there's an echo of the space rather than the thought. And you can just go, oh, I'm identifying. And it's there, to be found at just a moment, just to look. And what you'll start to recognise is every time you look, it's there. It never goes. And then you'll just start to go, I am that space, and then the rest will start to make more space, and it becomes freedom. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's as simple as that, and the teaching will remain the same. And what my job is, is to figure out where people's roadblocks are. Okay, what is not allowing them to see that space, and then that is where a practice becomes relevant. Most of the people that sit in this classroom, if they can bear it for an hour of the class with me, are ready to inquire into that space anyway. Because I can categorically say that someone that is not able to see that space would not be able to listen to me. They wouldn't. They'd turn off at an instant. What the fuck is he on about? That is the first thing they'd be thinking. And they wouldn't turn off again. And that's why I find this space is right for the people who need it. Yeah? There's other classes out there, and there's millions of teachers that are suitable for different people. But this space is designed for one thing, and it's freedom. And it's instant freedom. It's not, you've done enough work in your life. You haven't not got to do anything else. You just have to stop and surrender. And be brave. Okay, be brave enough to let the things in. So there's a few things I'm going to advise. One is to be radically honest and go home and really sit down. At some point, make time for yourself to say, what is it that I want that's stopping me having that freedom at all times? Because there's an identification happening that if I have that thing, then I will be, and you can't be any more full. You can't be any more complete. You're never going to add anything more to that space. That space is fresh. the same space where you came from before you was in a body. You know, you were just consciousness with no form to grab hold of. Same space that we go when we die. And it's that bouncing around when we die of our karma that bounces and forms and creates the new body based off of the desires that you haven't been able to let go of. And then you get a new go. And you come into the world with your desires and you fulfill them. And then you get a new sin. You die and you have a new go. And eventually you won't want to fulfill them anymore and you'll rest and you'll become consciousness, and then you get to play out all of the lifetimes before, all of them desires as consciousness, which is where we're at the moment. It's the precipice of the most beautiful life that you've ever imagined, because you recognise that suffering doesn't exist. There's no suffering. There's just your experience of wrong identification creating a thing which you believe. And in the yoga term it is, what's the illusion? Maya. Maya. It's a lens that we look at life through with all of our mind's attachments, and it tells us that this is what we're seeing. Whereas exactly what Thea said, what you're hearing, the noises, what you're seeing, are just raw experience. The only way that one could determine whether that is good or bad is by the mind. There's someone that said to me, when I do this meditation, I get a bit afraid because it's just black. It feels like that from the mind, black, you know, there's no light. But light and black and then words are just constructs of the mind. When I'm in there, I'm not thinking it looks black, I'm thinking it feels vibrant and alive and juicy and exciting and bright. Yeah, it's like, it's a light, but it might not be in the form that our eyes can receive. It's a different form of energy, but there's a definite, powerful, all-encompassing energy there. And that is whatever form we choose to rest as. It's not scary, it's only scary on the frame of the mind, and the mind tends to get scared. Like, there's many people that will come into meditation, they'll get to that point and they'll reject it because they're too afraid of it. And that's exactly what we're doing in our life in all given circumstances when we're creating our own world of suffering.
Living in fear.
Living in fear. I don't want that.
So often
we've got to break the shackles of that. And we're so fortunate to live in a world where this knowledge is available. Because Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which is Hatha Yoga, which is the yoga of the physical body, which is the preparation for this, was written 2,000 years ago. It's only really become published to the world in the last 60 years. Before then it was literally teacher, student, teacher, student. We're in a place now where if you go online and tap it in, you can find it. But that also means you're walking a minefield of too much information. So, what do we want to do? Do you want to meditate some more? Do you want to have any interactions? Do you want to share stuff that's going on in your life that's perhaps you'd like to look at and we can address? Or you're completely in control here.
Can you do your reading, okay? Because often that, whatever you've picked out, often has a...
My reading.
What you're going to do.
Okay, yeah, thank you for reminding me.
Before you do it, also makes me giggle because if we was to talk, essentially that's going into our past or future.
Wow.
Or ego.
Okay, this is a good one. Yeah, well, the formulation of language is a learned thing from past, so it has to be.
Okay.
But there is a word leaving a space deriving straight from the source of consciousness. And there is a word where someone is thinking about what they need to say in the form. So if I'm sitting here saying words from you, there is nothing between my vessel and the space in which the words are now arriving, in which it's touching me. So I would say that the voice of God is speaking through me, and even in saying that I invoke an ego and think, you chauvinistic bastard. I don't like saying things like that, but it's the truth. There's flow, which is the natural way of life, Because if you don't allow the natural path of life to flow, then you'll be with the egoic sense. Okay? Because there's no amount of you forgetting everything that is going to stop you knowing everything you already know. You're already incarnated in a body, in a form, with a language, with all of this stuff, and the karma is already playing out through you. If you're letting it play out, then it's like you become this holy being that knows everything, and you're not. You're just allowing the grace to come through, which is quite different from me sitting here going, I'm going to look really cool, and I've wrote this whole class out to sound amazing, and then trying to do it, and everyone going, it didn't really land. There's a difference, because I'm genuinely not trying to do anything, it's just doing itself, same as you. Make sense? So you can't disperse your language, although you're going into your graveyard, but that's different to going, I don't like something. That's a thought. Whereas this is not. This is just an happening, unfolding as it's meant to. Okay, let me find the brown karma that I was going to read.
Can I say something?
Of course you can, yeah, please do.
Earlier in the class you mentioned acceptance, sitting with what is, and I feel with when, let's say, emotion arises, I feel that I'm constantly needing to fix. I'm constantly needing to see like what's the roots beneath it. Why am I feeling like this? And it's a sense of I need to fix this and see the roots beneath it and be the detective and and I struggle to sit with whatever the emotion is. So when you say you sit in acceptance, what does that look like?
Okay, it's a very good question. I will read something. Okay, so this is a really, really slippery slope if we approach it in the wrong fashion, because the sincere part here is to be sincere about the reason that you're sitting with your feeling. Okay, to sit with a feeling is nothing more than to sit with a feeling. Okay, there's sadness and I'm going to experience it. That is different to going, there is sadness and I'm going to sit with it and hope that it goes away. Yeah, because sitting down with a feeling and experience it might be painful, but what I would say, what we're trying to do there is to sit as the space that you've just said that you've had some contact with, to sit as space and let it in. And you let the feeling, say all of a sudden you feel sad and you've got a bit of time and you can sit down, you would sit down and you would let it in, but you would not let it in with any motive. There is no, I'm going to let it in so I can experience it. There is no, I'm going to let it in so that I can experience it so it can go. Or maybe if I just experience it, then it will show me why it's here. It is just to be experienced. Because from that place, that silent place, there is no reason that it's there. There is no reason that it needs to go. There just is what there is. And it's about finding out whether you're genuinely trying to be with it because it's asking for your attention, because if it wasn't asking for your attention, it wouldn't be coming up in you. And by giving it your attention without telling it that it needs to be any other way, it will naturally run its course. If I was to pour water out and that water was my sadness and it was to go over some rocks, it would naturally flow and find its way into the earth. And I wouldn't have to put any energy into where that water goes, and that water would course wherever it needs to go. It's exactly that you're doing with your emotion. You let it in as if you're pouring the water, and you just watch it. It might move up into your heart, and it might go heavy, and then you might have a bit of fear, and then you just sit, and eventually you're going to try and find out, is there still that peaceful space while I'm experiencing it? And when them two things meet, the experience of sadness and the experiencer, the sadness is experienced, it goes. It just goes. No uprooting, no finding the cause, no finding the problem, you've experienced it. And the reason that that's important to know is because you stored it. There was a point in your life, the root, let's say, in your life, maybe it was when you was a child, maybe it was at some point in your life, that experience came into your body and into your mind, and you rejected it. You didn't want to feel it, it was too painful. And at that point you pushed it. You didn't let it run its course. Everything is meant to go through. It's meant to go through, but we've collected all of this stuff, and then when it's in us, we're trying to figure out, well, when did I experience it? What can I do to fix it? That's not the cure. The cure is, I put that stuff in here, I'm going to let it move. And you just sit, and you allow it to come, and whatever wants to come up will come, and you just allow it in. And I promise it's about the most terrifying thing to do for a start. Because it's just like, I don't want to let that sadness come over my body. I'm holding it together, you know. I don't want to feel depressed because it's terrorizing. But them things are actually the result of you not allowing it to flow. It will come in, and I can say this wholeheartedly, it will go quicker than you could have ever imagined. But the motive behind it has to be completely transparent, okay?
And not be trying to be fixed by the mind.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's the mind that's wanting to work it out. It's not the mind doing it.
If you can really visualise your mind as something that is engaging with the wheels, like analogies are good to understand, but they have to be let go of too. But when that thing comes in and your mind's trying to fix it, you're literally, there's a little fire here of sadness, and then your mind comes in trying to fix it, and it keeps poking the fire, and the fire gets bigger and bigger, and maybe if I chuck a bit of fitness on it and a bit of money on it, and maybe then why is it not going away? Like, just if a log is burning in your mind and it is an old desire and you don't put any fuel on it, what's going to happen? It's going to burn out. Yeah, same thing. The truth is meeting it, actually meeting it, you know, and that takes a certain amount of courage, and it also takes a certain amount of failure. It takes you failing so many times at everything else, or recognising that all the other things that I try, they don't sustain my peace indefinitely. They fail, and then I'm back here again, you know. I'm back in depression, and for me that was the running thing, and anxiety and depression, back in it. You know, a bit more yoga, a bit more asana, get a better body, feel really good, back in it. Now it's just, if that's what it is today.
I also feel that there's
Does that make sense? Sorry, did that make sense so far? Okay, good.
You say that it's also when I've had some shit stuff in my life, it's what do I take from this? How do I grow through this? And what do I learn from it? And then through that sort of thing comes acceptance and then peace. So sorry, that was my contribution.
No, it's good. It's a good contribution. I would be cautious with trying to gain anything from it, though. Like, I know it's the right thing to do, and we should.
I kind of mean it's part of your journey.
Yeah, the surrender part is
part of your journey.
The acceptance is the ripest part, because if we were supposed to be in an incarnation where all we were supposed to experience is happiness, let's say, then that's what we would be in. We are in a human body, and the human emotional range is this set of emotions, and yet we say, I've got these emotions, but I only want this one. When the rest of them come up, I'll do anything to get rid of them. I want to get back to this one. And happiness is on that scale. We're not looking for happiness. Happiness, in the term of an emotion, is very, very short-lived. We're looking for peace, and peace is in the middle. Peace is here when that's being experienced, when that's being experienced, when that's being experienced. It is right in the middle. And it's the way that you remain in the peace is not to be wavered when the tides change. And these are constantly doing this. And one of them gets your attention and you play with it and you're stuck there because you don't want it, and you push it and you fight it, and just come back to peace. Okay? This week I'm depressed, this week I'm sad, this week I'm happy. It will constantly flux and change. And I would say it so confidently that I guarantee you, no matter what you want to do, that at some point in the next year you'll have a day where you're happy, a day where you're sad, a day where you're miserable. All of us. You know? The problem is the not wanting it is chucking fuel on that fire. And that's how people get stuck for a long time. They get stuck in a hole where they're reliving the same thought and the same emotion and the same fear and the same pain because they're not experiencing it, they're running from it. It needs to be experienced and then it will go. And then a month later a new one might come, but that's fine. It's really freeing. So meet it, authentically meet it, but don't want it to go. If it goes, it goes. You take chunk off by chunk off, it reveals itself very, very fragmented.
So find the space.
Yeah, make a relationship with the space.
And when heaviness comes up.
Yeah, meet it, let it in.
Through the space?
Yeah.
Dissolve it in the space?
Yeah, you can very much tell whether you're meeting it from the space or not, because when the heaviness comes up, there'll be a lot of thoughts and things going with it. It's about really identifying, okay, there's heaviness, what is my intention here?
Am I resisting?
Am I fighting it? Do I not want it? What's going on? Then you can start to meditate just on that. What am I doing here? Am I trying to figure it out? Am I trying to fix it? And then from the answers to them questions, you can go, yeah, I don't want this. And then go, okay, actually, I'm going to welcome it in, and I'm just going to sit here and say, like, come in. And then I'll start to try and find that space. This is what I do personally. I'll start to go, okay, there's sadness. This is how it works for me, and hopefully this can be applicable. There'll be sadness, and there'll be a feeling of sadness. And then I'll notice this heaviness in my body. And then I'll say, where am I noticing this sadness from? Because there's someone observing the sadness. I am not that sadness. There is sadness. I was aware that there was sadness. Who is it that was aware that there was sadness? Oh, there's me. There's the peace. Even though there's sadness, there's still this beautiful space, untouched, unchanged by any of it. And then I start to meet it. I start to look at it without wanting to get rid of it and let it in. And that sadness comes in. And I watch it. It might be a palpation in my heart. It might be a heaviness in my belly. And I just sit as the space and watch it. And it might go, it might not go. If it stays, fine. If it goes, fine. I'm absolutely impartial to the outcome. But I'm meeting it. And then, okay, just for me and everyone that does it in that fashion, there's some relief. There's some, an energy's moved. It doesn't mean that you've got rid of the whole beast yet, but you've addressed it, truthfully. And then the next one, the same thing. And what you'll start to do is in any of your emotions, you'll start to recognise, oh, there's me, and there's the thing. If I'm looking at it, I can't be the thing. Come on in. It doesn't become so offensive. The minute that you feel you're sad, or I'm sad, I've lost identity with the peace, I'm now lost in the sadness. And that is why the meditation should be done, or that investigation should be done with a curious flavour, not a, oh, this is going to be impacted. Just, I'm curious. I'm really intrigued to see what's going on here. And I always use the term like a puppy investigating their surroundings. You know, they're actually engaged. They want to know what's going on. Just, I'm engaged. And then you just do that over and over again, and you start to clear out these things. And all of a sudden, one day, you'll meet it in such a way where it just doesn't even touch you, and it just brushes out of you, and it's like, whoa, and you just feel freedom. I'm feeling it now, so I can't be lying. It's a surefire method, and it just takes, I want to say practice, but it doesn't. But it takes you to practice noticing there's a separation between the observed and the observer. You can't be sadness. You don't say, I am sadness. You go, I feel sad today. That's because there's a feeling of sadness and there's an I that's experiencing it. There's a separation. That's the truth with your mind, it's the truth with your body. You're not your body because you're observing it. But you're a space that's able to observe the body. You want to make a strong relationship with that space because it's never changed. It's the same space. You're completely able inside of your head in this moment to recognise who you are. If I said, are you in there? It's the Michael Zinger thing. Are you in there? You'd say, yeah. Is it the same you that's always been in there? Yeah. Has anything changed it? No. Same you. Nothing in your whole experience of life has come in and managed to change who you are. You're still there. Same Jess. Same person. But the minute you feel like you're identified, you lose your perspective. It's a practice. Okay, it's not easy. It takes time, but if you do it sincerely, it can be really, really quick. Yeah. No, you're welcome. I was just going to read a part on karma, and I was struggling to find this. I feel like the universe is telling me that I shouldn't have done it, but
You'll find it.
no, we'll just find something else. I'll just see what looks the most appealing to sound clever. This is good. Okay. That space is God. Yeah. Okay, just so we're all aware of when we talk about God, that space inside of you is God. Living through an incarnation, and it's all around you and everything. God and Guru are in truth not different. Just as the prey that has fallen into the jaws of the tiger cannot escape, so those who have come under the glance of the Guru's grace will surely be saved and will never be forsaken. Yet one should follow without fail the path shown by a Guru. I'm just going to stop at that point straight away. Most of the time, the problem with the teaching is and I don't proclaim to be a guru. This is not me. This is my teachers. So I'm not this, and I'm not referring to myself in this way. But most of the time, when we get given the information from someone that is living it, that is really the embodiment of what we want to feel and be, or the embodiment of God, we don't take on board what they're telling us to do. And they're literally giving a direct instruction that can cut through the bullshit, and we don't want it. And that's why it says one should follow without fail the path shown to them by the Guru. From Bhagavan's point of view, there are no disciples. But from one point of view of the disciple, the grace of the Guru is like an ocean. It comes up with the cup, and he will only get one cupful. There is no use in complaining about the ocean, because the bigger the vessel, the more he will be able to carry. It is entirely up to him. Okay? So the bigger you are, or let's change the analogy slightly, if you turn up to class and you are empty from your beliefs, desires, and all the things that you know, and you just turn up completely empty, the more you're going to be able to take away from the class. You have a bigger vessel to take the ocean from the person teaching the teachings, which means don't turn up with preconceptions, just turn up and let it be what it is, and the things that you need to take away will fill your vessel. One method of securing the temporary cessation of mental activities is association with sages. They are in a depth, in samadhi, and it has become easy for them, natural and perpetual with them. Those moving with them closely and in sympathetic contact gradually absorb the samadhi habit from them. We know that from here, don't we? So when you place yourself around people that are living the way that you want to live, you can't help but naturally absorb that way of life into you. And sometimes it requires that you do, all of the time, it requires that you do absolutely nothing. Just be the vessel. It's really important to know that stuff, because I know that my fire of consciousness was illumined by someone else that had it. It wasn't by a book, it wasn't by circumstance, it wasn't by experience, it was literally by sitting in front of someone that had it. And it was palpable in the room, and everyone everyone was feeling it. And whatever it was, I was like, that's the truth. Everything else is been leading me to find that. And then I became a disciple, heavily. And I absorbed as much as I could. And that led me on a wonderful journey. So just turning up and being with people is so important. The term guru is often loosely used to describe anyone who gives us spiritual advice. But Sri Ramana's vocabulary, the word has a much more restricted definition. For him, a true guru is someone who has realized the self and who is able to use the power to assist others towards the goal of self-realization. Sri Ramana often said that God, Guru, and the self are identical. The Guru is God in human form, and simultaneously, he is also the self in the heart of each of the devotees. Because both inside and outside are the same. His power works in two different ways. The outer Guru gives instructions, and by his power enables the devotees to keep their attention on the self. The inner Guru pulls the devotee's mind back to the source, absorbs it in the self, and finally lets it go. It is a basic tenet of Sri Ramana's teachings that the Guru is necessary for almost everyone who is striving towards a permanent awareness of the self. The catalytic role of the Guru in spiritual development is therefore crucial, except in rare instances. Ignorance of the self is so deeply rooted in the individual seekers that they are unable to escape by their own efforts. Although Sri Ramana taught that a guru is indispensable for those seeking self-realization, he also pointed out that the guru has no power to bring about that realization in those who are not energetically seeking it. It is the individual seeker that makes the serious attempt to discover the self. Then the grace and the power of the guru will automatically start to flow. If no such attempt is made, then the guru is actually helpless. This is important. This is important to find people in your life that have got the enlightenment principle authentically and to make an effort to see them. And if you want to know who they are, I can tell you who they are in this world that I know of. And if you are genuinely invested in the principle, in discovering it for yourself, just by being in their grace, they will fire it up in you. It's a beautiful thing that someone has that capacity, that they are so lost from identity that when you place your eyes into their eyes, they literally reflect yourself back to yourself. Gangaji, Eli. That's like a handful.
Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, Eckhart Tolle. He is the enlightenment principle. Whether he's a guru, I mean, it's a no because I haven't studied him enough, but his teachings are rife with beautiful information. Swami Tadamananda. Ramdas, he's dead, but you can meet him in meditation. It is completely possible to meet a guru in meditation. If you study their stuff and you close your eyes, you can get a visit from them. No bullshit, I'm not kidding. This is, I wouldn't say if I hadn't experienced it. I've studied under a different teacher, I've sat and meditated on the form and the form has appeared. Every time. But it's your sincere approach in what you want. And that word is the most beautiful word, I think, in the human vocabulary, sincere. Because you can sit down and you can go, I want to be enlightened. Why? If you're being sincere, why? You know, it's about really, really cutting your own bullshit up and going, doing that to gain something. Because enlightenment principle's alive in all of you, always. It's that facade of going, it's already there. You can't gain it. You just need to recognise it. So, guru is a wonderful thing because the term gets so thrown around so loosely, and eventually, how you'll see the world and how I see all of you is we're all each other's gurus. Because we're all a reflection of that divine. Every time someone comes into my life that says something to bring out an energy within me, I'm now able to go, yes, I didn't know that was dormant within me. He's teaching me that I've still got this going on within me, and I now have an opportunity to pull out this stuff that I've stored inside of myself. And it becomes more fun because it's like, oh, teacher, nature's a teacher, walking around's a teacher, your mind is a teacher, your friends are a teacher, they're all guru, they're all pointing you at the truth of yourself. Do you know how? Because if they're creating noise, they're showing you when you're not being true to yourself. And actually, just on one more note before I close, this is a really, I'm glad this has just popped through the universe. The feeling of depression, the feeling of sadness, the feeling of anger is actually rooted in the feeling of turning your back on yourself. Because there was a point in your life where you were peaceful and then something happened and you turned your back on your peace and you gave yourself to the negative feeling and you started to manipulate and fight and play with that. And any time you're not feeling peaceful, is because you've given your identity to something else and you've abandoned your peace. And in that, you can start to hold yourself accountable for the stuff that's going on in your life. Because we all know from just tonight's experience that peace is here in this moment. And that is why when B said, am I willing to give up my peace for this? It's one of the most important questions you can ever ask. Because the next time you're not feeling this peace, you gave up your identification with peace, you turned your back on it, and you went into that thing and identified with it. And that's the annoying thing.
It's so easy.
You're giving up your peace every day to identify with another form. Don't give it up anymore. No, I'm not giving up my peace for this, just rest. Just rest. You can't give it up anyway. It's just the joke of the universe, isn't it? It's still there, but it's the feeling that you're turning your back on yourself, that you're moving into something. It's a facade, it's the Maya, but you don't have to. You can become familiar with that peace and you can never waver again for the rest of your existence. Just rest with it. That is the work of a lifetime. I hope it was fruitful and I hope you got things out of it. We've just about finished writing up the stuff for the course that we're doing. The way it's going to work is the one-to-one stuff is going to work as like a mentorship where we spend time together over a period of time and we discover what's going on, and it needs to be in such a fashion where it's over a long period of time so that we can start rooting ourselves further and further as the self as long as possible. We've just about finished writing up a 3-month and a 6-month program, but we go away on the 5th of December, so it probably won't be likely to start anything until we're back. But I'm happy to sit down and discuss it, go through the blueprint and start showing it. It's going to become available to everyone that I teach here, and it's going to be a way to really integrate this stuff so that we can stop trying and start being. And that's my work for the life, it's not to give you anything, it's to show you that you already have everything, and that's the fun. That's why I enjoy it so much. So we're close, okay? We've been working hard, right? And we don't want it to be this thing where there's an exchange or someone has to do something, but what I've realised and this was long reflection with my teacher, is because I didn't want to charge money and I have an issue with money and all of this sort of things, but a commitment has to be made on both people. The minute there's a material commitment made, it makes the severity of the process far more imminent. Because if I say, turn up and we do this in a conversation and we just have a conversation, there's no investment on the other people or yourselves to actually do it. Whereas if there's a value put on it, which means something to your ego, then you're going to start saying, I need to do something with this.
So we live in the world, King. That's the world. That's the way the world operates.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I believe in the thing that we're achieving at the end of it, more than anything. I believe if these seeds and this recognition could be made in most of the people that we live in, then the world wouldn't look so bad. And the things that I'm trying to cure will cure, but the only way that we can do that is by looking at ourselves. And the program is completely designed to stabilise in that. And that doesn't mean we need to psychoanalyse anything, it means the path will naturally appear to us as we do it. We've got this foundation for something which I think can be a lifelong work for us. It's going to be great. Thank you so much for coming. I know meditation was short and we talked a lot. I hope that you still gained what you needed to gain, and I hope you filled your vessels up. And we'll catch up soon. So, you're welcome.
your Sunday courses, they
Sunday course.
Sorry. Now, the Sundays,
Yeah.
Are they here or little down?
They'll be a little down. I need to keep the community over there that are going, and they're specifically going to be designed still with all the tenets of yoga, but we're still working more on the material plane for that. This is where the stuff goes. That stuff is, for me, entertaining an old paradigm that needs entertaining. They want it. I want to do this.
Yeah.
But they also, I have to remember that if I'm helping people, I'm helping people. So I'll keep it alive. So that is going to just be physical yoga with a touch of this. This is hopefully where my future leads and grows.
Yeah. Great.
And stuff here, yeah.
Thank you.
Pardon?
At the end of Jan.
Yeah, we're only planning to go for a month and a half, yeah. And then we'll be back. And we'll start.
Then we'll be back.
Yeah,